I want to speak today about independence of mind in football representation, in fan engagement structures in English football. The last time out I spoke about fan advisory boards and why they've been misunderstood, and one of the things that I talked about extensively was about the fact that fan advisory boards are not independent. It's not the intention of a fan advisory board to be independent, and that matters, and that the reason it matters is that it is sometimes unable to step outside of its role as an independent, as a non-independent club organ, essentially. And without going too far into the whole subject of fan advisory boards again, they are where they have, for example, club representation, which is not something our research demonstrates is the best route anyway. It should really just be fans on there, and that the clubs come to the fan advisory board to be held to account. However, even in the situations where you have a very independent-minded fan advisory board like that at Everton, it is still a body that is there because the club wishes it to be there. Now, when it comes to independence of mind, it's always been clear to me that the only way that this position can be held effectively is through an independent body, through a body which is established under its own aegis, usually through the desire of fans to be represented in some way and to hold the club to account. That inevitably means in our modern game in the last 20-25 years is a supporters' trust. They're in an ideal position for that. This all matters because there are times when it gets to a point where the club and their fans will diverge on an issue. The problem with the position of fan advisory board will invariably take, or is capable of taking, is that its structure and relationship with the club means it is incapable, institutionally incapable, of being able to, if you like, pull away, to oppose sometimes. Now, the question from some people will be, so you want a frictional, factional relationship between a club and representation, and that is not the case. Absolutely, manifestly, in all the work I've done, in fact, over 20 odd years in fan engagement, in fan representation, I have done precisely the opposite in advising supporters' trust to think very carefully before administering the press release, or these days the tweet or the social media message, slamming the club or criticising. I've always sought to try to encouraged the building of bridges. What happens, however, sometimes, and we have to be very clear about this and very honest with ourselves, is that there are occasions where a supporters' trust and a football club or fan representation of other sorts will diverge, and they will do so sometimes spectacularly. It can be for all sorts of reasons. I have advised and am advising clubs and supporters' trusts where that relationship has broken down almost completely and got to the point of legal threats and difficulties and issues. But that doesn't mean that opposition is a bad thing. It doesn't mean that disagreement and sometimes divergence is a bad thing. And to make that relationship possible, so that disagreement can happen and organisations, the football club and the supporters, can reconvene when those disagreements are resolved, or hopefully continue to convene even when there is a disagreement. The most effective way of doing it is where the supporters trust, or the body, the organisation representing fans independently, is structured itself independently, separate from the football club, not reliant on the patronage of the club. The point being that as the owners come and go, administrators, chief executives, fan engagement officers, supporter services departments, staff come and go. The point is that relationship should always be maintained, and that the most effective way is to have some form of representation outside of the club. Now, these things have persisted, and in good, I think in football clubs where they do this well, it doesn't prevent friction from occurring. Sometimes even with fan-owned clubs, the membership, which is the sovereign body of the supporters trust in this case, and generally of the membership organisation that is independent from the club, might be taking a different view even from the board of the supporters organisation, of the supporters trust. And that is itself a demonstration of the importance of independence of mind, because it allows fans who we know are, super interested, hyper connected stakeholders in their clubs. It allows them to express different views, sometimes opposition. It allows a better interrogation of plans and thoughts and ideas and proposals. Yeah, right, sometimes that democratic process might yield a result that we don't like, but there may be occasions where the result shouldn't be what the board want or what the football club wants. That sometimes we need to have that disagreement, and we need it to play out in an effective and structured manner. And ultimately, that is where I'm coming from, is that I think we mistakenly move from model to model. We hope that what we can do is to contain dissent, to prevent it from happening by sitting everyone around in a room, as much of a representative group of people as possible, and sometimes not even thrashing out the disagreements, but trying to find ways to prevent the disagreements from happening. That is not good fan engagement. In the end, good fan engagement is allowing the different voices, the different views and opinions to be aired, for issues to be discussed, for disagreement to happen, for agreement to be reached, and for positions to be respected. And I think that if we pursued that line, the game would be healthier, and we would find that relationships at all clubs and at all levels would be better between the fans, their representatives, and the club.